They said she grilled the best catfish in the entire region. Spicy, smoky, seasoned with herbs that danced on your tongue and flavors that refused to leave your mind. From the first bite, people were addicted, coming from far and wide, begging for just one more piece. But how could one woman's fish taste this divine? Was it skill, or something darker beneath the surface? This is the story of Madame Aden, the woman who opened her catfish grill by the river, and the spirit that changed her life forever. Her real name was Adesewa Akinyemi. She was the only child of her parents before tragedy struck. A ghastly accident took them both, leaving her with nothing but grief and the memories of better days. Her uncles and aunts, greedy and cruel, wasted no time. They seized her father's land, sold his goats, and threw Adesewa out of the family house. No inheritance, no shelter, no mercy. For months, she wandered from one village to another, Okodo, Aitoro, Eloro, washing clothes, scrubbing floors, and doing whatever work could earn her a few naira. Some days she ate. Most days she didn't. When the sun set, she slept wherever her legs gave up, under trees, in unfinished buildings, by roadside stalls. But one afternoon, after another day of disappointment, Adesewa found herself walking toward Ijare, a quiet Yoruba village far from everything she once knew. She had heard rumors that the people there were kind. Maybe, just maybe, she could start again. She reached the village square by sunset, dusty and exhausted, her stomach twisting in hunger. She asked a landlord if she could rent a room and pay later. "If you don't have money," he barked, "then leave. Even goats pay for where they sleep." She begged, tears in her eyes, but no one cared. She was an outsider, and in Ijare, outsiders were invisible. So she walked alone through the winding paths of the village until she reached the river, the legendary Odo-Ijare, a calm body of water the villagers said was home to ancient spirits. She didn't care about the stories. She only wanted to wash off the dust of her suffering before night came. But as she approached the riverbank, something caught her eye. A small old hut, standing quietly beside the water. It looked abandoned, the roof bent, the door half open. "Who would leave a whole house here?" she whispered. She pushed the door gently. It creaked open without resistance. Inside, dust, cobwebs, but a bed, a table, a small kitchen corner. Her lips trembled. "Thank you, God," she whispered shakily. "Maybe this is my beginning." That night, Adesewa swept every corner of the house, lit the tiny lamp in her bag, and lay down on the narrow bed. For the first time in months, she slept in peace. Until midnight came. A cold wind blew through the house, though the windows were shut. The lamp flickered, then died. "Child!" Adesewa's eyes snapped open. Standing beside her bed was a glowing figure, a tall woman, radiant, terrifying, her skin shimmering like water under moonlight. "I am Yemoja, the spirit of this river," the figure said, her voice echoing like waves in a cave. "I have seen your pain, your hunger, your rejection. And I want to bless you." Adesewa's voice trembled. "Bless me? With what?" "With riches, fame, power, a life that will make those who mocked you kneel at your feet." Adesewa sat up, trembling. "And what must I do in return?" Yemoja's voice deepened. "By dawn, part of this house will become a place of trade. You will find sacks filled with fresh catfish, pepper, palm oil, drinks, everything you need. Your only job is to grill the fish. Grill it with care, season it with your hands, and serve it to anyone who comes. They will eat. They will smile. And as they eat, I will feed. Their life force will flow into the river. You will prosper as they fade." Adesewa's mind spun. The villagers had mocked her, ignored her cries. Now, someone wanted to reward her, to make her powerful. A slow smile curved her lips. "Yes," she whispered coldly. "I accept." Yemoja's eyes gleamed. "Good. Welcome to the waters, my daughter." And just like that, the spirit vanished. Outside, the river rippled, as if it had heard every word. Adesewa Akinyemi woke up to the scent of change, and the sound of destiny. The once broken heart by the Odo-Ijare River had transformed overnight. Where there was dust, there was polish. Where there was emptiness, there was life. The front of the house had become a cozy riverside grill, its wooden tables shining under the morning sun. White curtains fluttered like wings in the soft breeze. The kitchen gleamed, clean utensils, neat counters, rows of spices standing tall like soldiers. And outside, near the water, stood a grill station forged from black iron, tall, sleek, and glowing with low, steady coals. There was no smoke, no noise, just a sacred heat, calm and ready. Beside it lay sacks of catfish, freshly caught, fat and clean, their silver scales shining. And crates of drinks, already cold and sweating in the morning heat, yet there was no ice, no cola. Magic. Adesewa didn't ask questions. She simply smiled. "Let's begin." She washed the fish carefully, humming a soft Yoruba melody her mother once sang. Then came the seasoning: ground pepper, ginger, onions, garlic, dried herbs, palm oil, and a strange dark powder with a smoky scent she didn't recognize. She rubbed it gently into the fish, like an artist painting a masterpiece. When she placed the first fish on the grill, the sound was heavenly, zzz. The oil popped softly, and the aroma rose like incense from a temple. Two girls fetching water nearby stopped mid-step. "Huh! What's that smell?" asked Katunjr, eyes wide. Her friend Tola sniffed the air. "It's fish, oh, but not ordinary fish. My spirit is shaking. Let's go and see," Katunjr said, dropping her bucket. They followed the scent trail until they reached the small riverside grill. Adesewa smiled warmly. "Ikobo, my daughters, you came right on time." She served them each a plate, golden brown grilled catfish dripping with oil and pepper, garnished with onions and green flakes. Beside it, she placed cold fruit drinks, the kind that fizz before the first sip. Katunjr took one bite and froze. "My God, this fish is heavenly," she cried, eyes closing in delight. Tola nodded furiously, licking pepper off her fingers. "I can't even talk. This thing is calling my soul." Word spread like wildfire. By afternoon, people from every corner of Ijare had come to the riverside. By evening, it was full, and by night, packed beyond imagination. No one had ever tasted anything like it. They didn't even question how she got her supplies or why her fish never ran out. They just kept coming and paying. And that night, as Adesewa counted her earnings, her hands trembled. Bundles of naira notes lay before her. "All this in one day," she whispered, her voice breaking into laughter. "So this is what wealth feels like." Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Madam Aden's river grill became a legend. People came from neighboring towns, Owo, Adu, Akio, just to taste the fish that melts the heart. They said her pepper cured sickness, restored joy, and even brought good luck. Men flirted. Women begged for her recipe. Children licked the bones clean. But Adesewa would only smile. "It's from the river," she'd say softly. They laughed. They thought she was joking. Within a month, she built a fine house in the heart of the village and bought herself a black SUV, the kind that made everyone stare. Her restaurant had become the pride of Ijare. She was the woman everyone admired, and the one no one dared to cross. But one night, as she lay on her new bed, dreaming of opening a lounge in Lagos, the air turned cold. The shadows shifted. The room darkened. "I know what you're thinking, Adesewa," a deep voice said. She sat up sharply. Yemoja stood in the center of the room, her eyes glowing like moonlit water, her tone no longer gentle. "You want to leave, to break the covenant." Adesewa swallowed hard. "Mother of the river, you promised me riches, and you gave them, but I've done my part. They come, they eat, you feed. I want to move forward now." "Quiet," Yemoja thundered. The walls trembled, and vases burst with water. "You were given this wealth for a purpose. You will not leave until I say so. There is more work to do. I will increase your riches, but when the time comes, you will obey my final command." Adesewa trembled, bowing her head. "Yes, mother." And as suddenly as she came, the goddess vanished, leaving only silence and the faint smell of pepper smoke. From that night onward, Adesewa Akinyemi, now known everywhere as Madam Aden, stayed in her lane. She didn't try to leave Ijare again. She grilled her catfish, served her drinks, smiled at customers, and pretended everything was normal. Every morning, without fail, she found a new sack of catfish waiting by her door. Fresh, fat, still glistening with river water. And beside it, crates of chilled drinks that never melted or warmed. She didn't question where they came from. She didn't dare. Soon, people began calling her Madam Eja Aden, the woman whose fish could make a sad man laugh. They said her food had power. Some swore their headaches disappeared after eating it. Others claimed they got sudden promotions at work. A barren woman said she conceived after drinking her zobo. The stories spread like smoke from her grill, thick and unstoppable. Ijare became a pilgrimage site for food lovers. Men rode okodas from far villages. Traders came with coolers to buy in bulk. Even big men from the city sent drivers to bring back the famous fish. Money flowed like palm wine at a festival. Adesewa's laughter echoed through the village. Her clothes grew finer, her hips fuller, her confidence brighter. But the river behind her home grew darker. Then, people started disappearing. At first, it was small. A little boy fetching water vanished by the river. Then 2 fishermen who never returned. Then a young woman washing clothes, gone. 1 disappearance became 5. 5 became 15. Then 20. The villagers whispered, something is wrong with the river. But even as fear spread, they didn't stop eating Madam Aden's fish. They couldn't. Her aroma ruled their senses. The sizzling of her grill was like a song they couldn't resist. They lined up every morning, eyes dreamy, hands shaking, hungry for more. They were no longer customers, they were worshippers. Even when the Baal, or village chief, called a meeting, many still went to buy fish afterward. The Baal's face was grave that evening as he sat before his council. Our people are disappearing, he said, his voice low. This is not rumor, it is evil. If we do not act, Ijare will become a story told at funerals. The elders murmured in fear. They called the best Babalawos, native doctors, from neighboring villages, Aitoro, Igboraok, Okala, but none could help. Each one said the same chilling thing. The river goddess of Ijare, Yemoja, has awakened. She is feeding, and something on land is helping her grow stronger. One old diviner shook his head slowly. If you had called us earlier, maybe we could have stopped it. But now, she is too powerful. She is feeding every day. The Baal couldn't sleep. He paced his palace all night, sweat dripping down his back despite the cold harmattan wind. Then an elder, Pofoshola, spoke softly. My king, there is one hope left. I heard of a man of God, Pastor Ajoni. He lives 3 villages from here, in Adu. They say he healed the blind and cast out spirits with a song. Maybe his God can fight this. With nothing left to lose, the Baal sent 2 men that very night to bring the pastor. But beneath the water, Yemoja already knew. Her voice thundered through the depths of the river. A man of light is coming. He must not reach Ijare. Around her, the lost souls of the vanished villagers floated, their eyes glowing blue, their skin shimmering with scales. They had become spirits of the river, servants of Yemoja. She turned to her daughter, the fierce and beautiful Omoyami, princess of the water. There is danger, my child. We must act. Should I stop him, mother? Omoyami asked. No, Yemoja said, smiling darkly. Leave that to me. That night, as Adesewa slept on silk wrappers and dreamed of Lagos mansions, Yemoja appeared once again, her presence colder, heavier. You have served me well, my daughter, she said. Adesewa bowed. What would you have me do now, mother? Yemoja's eyes glowed brighter than moonlight. It is time for your final task. Tomorrow, before dawn, you will find a sack by your door. Inside are catfish unlike any you have ever grilled. You will prepare them for a great feast. Everyone in the village must eat, rich or poor, young or old. And this time, you will take no money. Adesewa blinked. No money. But why? Because when they eat, they will belong to me, Yemoja said, her voice now deep as thunder. They will feast on their own doom. Their souls will descend into my kingdom beneath the water. And when all is done, you shall be free, rich, untouchable, able to go wherever you wish. Adesewa's heart raced. You mean I can finally leave? Yemoja nodded slowly. Yes. But first, let them eat. Then she vanished, leaving a faint echo. Let the smell draw them in like flies to honey. Let them eat their destiny with their own hands. As the waves of the Odo-Ijare River rippled under the moonlight, the final feast of Ijare was about to begin. The night was heavy. Clouds gathered over Ijare as if the heavens themselves sensed what was coming. While most of the village slept, the two elders sent by the bell rode through the bush paths toward Adu village. Their lanterns swayed, throwing long shadows on the red earth. By dawn, they reached a small white church sitting on a hill. Inside, Pastor Ajani was leading a midnight vigil, his voice deep, his prayer fierce. When he saw the elders enter, sweat-soaked and trembling, he stopped. They told him everything: the vanishing villagers, the river goddess, the strange woman by the river. For a long moment, the pastor was silent. Then he said quietly, I already felt this in my spirit. A darkness older than your village is moving. But God's light will prevail. He closed his Bible, took his anointing oil, and said, We live now. The elders nodded. By sunrise, his old pickup truck groaned along the dusty road to Ijare, yet it moved as if powered by something unseen. At exactly 6:30 a.m., they arrived at the Bayless Palace. Before anyone could speak, Pastor Ajani lifted his hand and said, Something terrible is about to happen by that river. If we don't act now, Ijare will be wiped away before the next moon. No one dared question him. Meanwhile, by the Odo-Ijare River, Adesewa was already preparing for the great feast. Her grill sizzled with the golden catfish Yemoja had promised, their scales shimmered like metal, their smell intoxicating. Villagers gathered in excitement, drawn by the irresistible aroma. Children clapped. Women brought bowls. Men licked their lips in anticipation. Adesewa smiled brightly, her eyes gleaming. Today, everyone eats for free, she announced. The crowd cheered. But just as she was about to serve the first fish, Stop! A thunderous voice split the air. The crowd turned. Pastor Ajani stormed through, Bible in one hand, oil in the other. Behind him, the Baal and his elders followed, fear etched on their faces. Step away from that grill, the pastor commanded. No one must eat that fish. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Adesewa blinked in disbelief. Pastor, why are you shouting? This is food for the people. Have I ever poisoned anyone? But Pastor Ajani's eyes burned with righteous fire. You know exactly what you're doing, Adesewa. Confess, and maybe heaven will spare you. The crowd murmured, confused. Adesewa tried to laugh, but her voice cracked. You're insulting me in front of my customers. I'm not insulting you, Pastor Ajani said, stepping forward. I'm exposing you. That fish was offered to Yemoja. It is cursed. If anyone eats it, their souls will be swallowed by the river. The air went still. Adesewa froze. Then suddenly, her body trembled. Her eyes rolled back. She screamed, a sound that didn't belong to any human throat. It burns, she cried, clutching her head. Stop. Please. The crowd scattered in panic. The river behind her began to churn violently, splashing her like a storm. Adesewa fell to her knees, weeping and shaking. I'll confess. Please stop. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke. She confessed everything, how she met Yemoja, how she grilled for her, how the goddess fed on the souls of those who ate. People screamed. Some fainted. Others ran, shouting prayers. Then, the river roared. A dark mist rose from its surface, and from it emerged Yemoja, majestic and furious, her skin glowing like whetstone, her hair flowing like waves. Behind her stood her daughter Omoyemi and a legion of water spirits, half human, half fish, their eyes glowing blue. You dare challenge me, mortal? Yemoja's voice thundered. This land is mine. But Pastor Ajani stood firm. No power is greater than the Lord I serve, not on land, not in the water. Yemoja laughed, a cold, cruel laugh that echoed through the trees. You are brave or foolish. Either way, you will drown in your faith. She raised her hand, and the river spirits attacked. Waves surged, crashing toward the crowd like living beasts. But Pastor Ajoni lifted his Bible high and shouted, "Let God arise, and let his enemies be scattered." A burst of light exploded from him, blinding and pure. The mermaid screamed, dissolving into mist. The river trembled, the earth shook. Yemoja roared in rage and struck him with a beam of water, throwing him to his knees. But even as blood dripped from his lip, Pastor Ajoni rose again, eyes blazing. With the authority of the Most High, he cried, "I command you, depart." He struck the air with his Bible. Thunder cracked. A flash of lightning shot down from the sky and struck Yemoja. She screamed, a sound that tore through the clouds, and vanished in a burst of black smoke. Silence fell. The river went still. Only the faint smell of rain and pepper smoke remained. Pastor Ajoni placed his trembling hand on Adesewa's head. She wept, her voice soft now, human again. "They mocked me, they threw me away. I was angry. I wanted to be seen," she sobbed. Pastor Ajoni sighed. Even the purest hearts can be corrupted by pain and greed. But mercy is greater than any curse. He prayed over her, and the dark mist left her body. Adesewa collapsed, silent, free. But the battle wasn't fully over. There was still one truth to reveal, one the village had long forgotten.